You're listening to Empty Nexters, a podcast about finding joy, beauty, and wonder in the next season of life. What's your next? Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Empty Nexter podcast. I'm your host, Shelly, and I am so excited to have you here today. And guess what? Cue the balloons, cue the noisemakers, cue the Beatles singing Happy Birthday song. Wow! Happy birthday, Empty Nexters. Happy birthday, Empty Nexter podcast. Today, I am celebrating our 1-year anniversary. That's right. I'm so overwhelmed. I can't believe how fast this last year has gone. I'm so excited. We are 28 episodes in. Can you believe it? And what's even more amazing is I'm still sitting here talking to you through this microphone, and you are still gracious enough to be listening. And what I call that is next level friendship. That's right. Like how I threw that word next in there. Next is a big part of my vocabulary these days. But I just really sincerely have to pause and say thank you. I mean, thank you for showing up. Thank you for listening and sharing and for walking this journey with me, because I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't have it all figured out. But man, I knew God was nudging me. He was nudging me out of my comfort zone. He said, Shelly, do it afraid. I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm doing it afraid. And then I heard him say more than anything, Shelly, there's more in the next than you think. Is anybody living there right now? Is God nudging you out of your comfort zone? Is he saying, hey, there's more to your next than you think? Man, come on, let's do this thing together. So looking back on all the episodes, I can see one thing so clearly. The phrase, the empty next isn't empty at all. It's full. That's right. Our next isn't empty. At least it doesn't have to be. It can be full. It can be full of lessons and courage. It can be full of joy. And more than anything, the one thing I'm super grateful for is the goodness of God. So I thought it might be fun to take a little trip down memory lane, like an extra year in the review. Let's look back at some of the topics and episodes and the laughter and all the encouragement that carried us through the year. So if you'll indulge me, let's dive in. I kind of like to dive in. I don't know why. I just do. So as you know, we say, and I say, that joy is a huge part of this community. And as I said earlier, I consider it an anchor. We kicked off the year with Oh, the Joy. And y'all, that was the right place to start because, as we know, joy is not about everything being perfect. It's about choosing to see God's hand even when it feels messy. That's right. And then we learned from our friend James that we need to count it all joy. That was a tough one. Joy, joy, joy. Remember, we counted all joy. And it was almost like God was telling us, hey, don't forget, joy is your anchor. Remember, even in the hard things, joy is still your friend. I remember getting messages from some of you saying this was one that really hit home because sometimes life feels like it just pulls the rug out from under you, and joy seems very far away. But choosing joy doesn't mean denying the struggle. It just means looking for God in it. And I love how we let joy sneak back in when we talked about work of art. You remember how the master painter, we used Leonardo da Vinci as our example that day. He's the master painter, and he was painting the Mona Lisa, and we kind of reframed it to say, what would it be like if Mona Lisa turned and looked at Leonardo da Vinci and said, why did you do this? Why did you make me this way? Oh, man, we realized that joy, we need to be joyful in who we are. Even in our appearance, even in our quirks, be joyful. God made you that way. Oh, I'm learning that every day. Every day I look in the mirror and I thank God. I thank God for the joy of being Shelly. Can you say that today? Thank you, Jesus, and put your name in the blank. And then we moved into a little bit of a transition. You remember Lost in the Leaves where Miss Pat talked about how life can feel messy and like we're buried and can't find our footing? And then the empty versus full episode. Wow. That was an episode where we asked the hard question, how do we see our situation? Right now, do you see your situation as draining or preparing you? Is it draining you right now? Is it somewhere you need to stop and go, I need to make some changes. I'm feeling drained or I'm striving too hard. I need to stop and pause and let God prepare me for my next. Oh, and how about the rear view? Y'all, that was such a revelation to me about the front window shield of our car is bigger than the rear view mirror. Man, what a way to look at it. Because sometimes we can get lost in the past. We can get lost in nostalgia because change isn't just around us, it's in us. And if we cling too tightly to that past, man, we're going to miss what God wants to do in our next, looking forward. But we can glance back at the past. Transitions are so hard sometimes, but they can also be the very place God grows us the most. How about how we talked about fighting and protecting our health and peace? Confession time. These episodes literally came out of my own life. Episodes like fighting for my health and say yes to the word no, and man, I need to pause. Yep, all those were topics. They weren't just topics, they were my reality. And here's what I had to learn, and hopefully you learned this and you're learning this as well, that it's okay to stop. Everybody stop just for a second. Take a deep breath. That's right. It's okay to guard your peace. It's okay to say no without guilt, and maybe you need that reminder again right now. And what about that word, boundaries? Oh yeah. Man, that was a tough one. That's always a tough pill to swallow for me. But man, I'm learning in the past year that boundaries are good. They're love and they're protection. And boundaries are here to help us stay whole. So who could say, woohoo, I've been set free in the best way? All right. So now we're talking about courage to move forward. Oh, some of those were the best episodes about not being afraid anymore. Remember, we put our hands up in the air and we said, I'm not afraid anymore. That's right. And then we said goodbye to excuses and bye-bye buts. Remember, bye-bye buts. That's right. Buts are not going to keep us from moving forward. I have to be honest, those episodes were so encouraging to me, and they're still motivating me. Because fear is sneaky. It wants to whisper and tell us you're too late, too old, too unqualified. But guess what? God says, step forward anyway. And that's what courage looks like. And courage doesn't mean you got to wait until you feel fearless, but it says to move forward even when the butterflies are there. That's right. We keep moving forward. We keep moving forward in our next because we're empty nexters. And remember what Beth said on don't limit his scope? Man, that one stretched me because sometimes we put God in a box. We want everything tidy in a box our way. And he's saying, nope, I've got bigger plans than you're even seeing. Oh, why do I want to limit his scope? I want to see everything. Not that I can handle everything all at once, but I sure don't want to limit what his ability is to do in my life or in this season we all are in as empty nexters. And then we talked about friendship and community. And that was one of my favorites because we brought in the next nexters. That's right, some of the young women that I've had the joy of walking alongside. And they were so wonderful to talk about what the importance is of finding your people. Because you cannot do life alone. We need people in our lives to love us, cheer us on, and tell us the truth, even when we don't want to hear it. That's right. And even with the young nexters, I want to hear the truth from them because we can teach each other so much, but we have to be willing to do it. And then what about calling all golden girls? That's right. Thank you for being a friend. Oh, that was so fun because you know what? Friendship keeps us young. And we had the wisdom ones where Miss Vera came on and talked about her long marriage and her long journey with Jesus. What a wonderful time that was. And then we were reminded to not strive and to be content in our next. Man, remember, community is what turns the empty life into a full life. And then Kawana reminded us to trust God in the waiting. Man, that was a hard one because waiting isn't easy. I told y'all, I'm not good at waiting. I want what I want yesterday. But I know that the process of waiting is where God does some of his best work. Oh, man. Then we talked about eyes on the prize. Can I stay here for a minute? Because I just love this episode. I was on a bike and I was looking out the window and I was being reminded of all the distractions I was looking at that kept me off looking at that bike and that screen in front of me. And then we were reminded to look to Jesus and not get distracted. And Peter was our guy this time, where Peter was out on the water and he was so excited and said, Jesus, call me. I'm ready to come. But as soon as he took his eyes off the prize, man, down he went. But we were reminded, as long as we keep our eyes fixed on Jesus, He will steady us in the storm. So, this last year, this is what that phrase is to me. It all comes back to the empty next isn't empty at all, it's full. It reminds us that joy is our anchor, change is our teacher, health is our priority, and courage pushes us forward. Community is our strength, and God is our firm foundation. So remember, we trust God in our next, and that we look for lessons, and we fight for laughter, and we find purpose in every moment. I just want to say thank you so much for listening and encouraging, for being part of this community. You have made this podcast what it is. And here's the exciting part. We're just getting started. That's right. Year 2 is right out in front of us. And I believe God is going to show us even bigger and better things, because guess what? The Master is still writing our story, and the next can only get better. So as I end the podcast today, I want to leave you with a little takeaway. Can I encourage you to take one small step this week towards your next? I don't know what it is for you. Maybe it's calling that friend that you want to reach out to and start a Bible study with, or, maybe it's signing up for that class that you've been wanting to do, but you thought you're just not qualified. Guess what? It's okay to figure out if you have that gifting or not, or just have fun doing it. And you'll know if you want to keep doing it or not. Maybe it's working in the children's ministry because you kind of like kids and you really want to get back in there and love on them, but you just don't know if you have it. Just do it. Like we said, Nike, just do it. Maybe it's opening that piece of chocolate you've been saving. Sit down and enjoy it for me, would you? Because I love me some chocolate. But whatever it is, do it with joy and purpose. Because together, we're empty nexters. We face forward and fly high, and we find joy in the journey. And as long as we have our heart anchored in joy in Jesus, we can't help but have a great next. Have a great one.